Welcome to the Deep Dive. Our mission today, well, it's pretty straightforward. We want to give you a clear, positive, and really quick shortcut to being totally up to speed on one fascinating and very specific corner of the real estate world. We are zooming right in, focusing entirely on the real estate landscape inside zip code 34231 in Sarasota, Florida. And I really want to stress this point, this deep dive. It's only about the zip code.
Exactly. This isn't about Sarasota as a whole or even Sarasota County.
Right. Think of it as hyper-local. We're aiming to give you insights you just won't find in those broader market reports. And all the great info we're about to unpack, it comes straight from local expertise.
Yeah, specifically from Eric Martin. He's a local realtor with Keller Williams right here in Sarasota, works out of the KW Coastal Living 3 office.
Perfect. So local knowledge is key here.
Absolutely. And just to set the stage, the data we're looking at covers the last 3 complete months. So that's March, April, and May of 2025. And, like always in this market, everyone's really eager to see this month's numbers, June's numbers, to see how these trends are playing out.
Right. Always looking ahead. Okay, let's get into it. We're talking about a very specific slice of Sarasota here in 34231. So to kick us off, what's the general feeling, the overall sentiment you're picking up from sellers in this particular zip code right now?
Well, it's interesting. I think the best way to describe the general seller sentiment in 34231, as of mid-2025, is probably cautiously optimistic.
Cautiously optimistic. Okay, I like that. Sounds balanced, like they're hopeful but grounded.
Yeah.
What does that actually look like on the ground, though, for sellers and maybe more importantly for you if you're a buyer looking right there?
Yeah, it suggests a mix, really. Motivation, but also realism. If you think about the bigger picture, we are seeing inventory ticking up slightly.
Okay, so more choice.
A bit more choice, yeah. Which is definitely positive for buyers compared to, say, a year or two ago. But, and this is important, it's not tipping over into a full-blown buyer's market. Not yet, anyway.
Gotcha.
Homes that are priced right, especially in those really desirable neighborhoods, and particularly anything under about $600,000, those are still moving pretty quickly.
So that price point is still hot.
It really is.
Yeah.
The main difference, I'd say, compared to that crazy market in 2021, 2022, is sellers are definitely showing more flexibility now. On price, yes, but also maybe offering concessions.
Interesting. And who's buying? Still seeing those cash offers?
Oh, definitely. Still strong interest from cash buyers. And also folks relocating. We see a lot of that, especially people moving down from the Northeast and the Midwest.
Right. That continues.
It does.
Yeah.
And, what buyers really want, what gets the competitive offers, it's the updated properties. Move-in ready is huge. Or homes really close to the beaches, or maybe Gulf Gate Village, the shops there. Location and condition are key.
That makes sense. It paints a really clear picture of kind of the currents in 34231. But with this cautious optimism, this increased flexibility you mentioned,
Yeah.
are there specific challenges sellers are facing? Where does that caution part really show up?
Yeah, absolutely. It's not all smooth sailing, even with that optimism. There are definitely hurdles. One big one is homes that need work.
The fixer-uppers.
Exactly. Or maybe homes that were priced, let's say, a bit too aggressively right out of the gate. Those are sitting on the market longer now. It seems like buyers are really calculating those renovation costs much more carefully.
More discerning.
Very much so. We're also seeing maybe a bit of seller hesitation. Some potential sellers seem to be holding back, maybe waiting, hoping prices might tick up again later in the year, especially with all the talk about, what might happen with interest rates.
Right. The rate uncertainty.
Yeah. And then there are those sort of evergreen Florida factors, things like insurance costs, which keep going up, and just general hurricane concerns. Those definitely play into pricing discussions and, frankly, buyer decisions, too. It's just part of the calculation down here.
That's super insightful. And again, it really highlights how specific this is to 34231. Okay, so we had the feeling, this cautiously optimistic vibe. But how does that actually translate into the numbers? The hard data from March, April, and May. What are the listings, the asking prices, and what things actually sold for? What do they tell us?
Okay, yeah, let's look at the data. So focusing just on active listings within 34231 for those 3 months. In March, we saw 730 active listings.
Okay.
In April, that number nudged up just a little to 746.
Right.
But then in May, it actually dipped down to 684 active listings.
Interesting. So up then down.
Exactly. It shows that slight fluctuation. Inventory might be generally up compared to the peak frenzy, but it's not like a massive wave of homes hitting the market all at once. It's more measured.
Got it. So inventory is moving around a bit. But pricing,
Yeah.
that's often where you see the real market dynamics, right?
Right.
What were homes initially listed for on average in 34231 during that time.
Yeah, and this is where a really clear trend emerges. Let's look at the average list prices. In March, the average list price was $569,170.
Okay.
By April, it had already come down to $535,898.
Mm-hmm.
And then in May, it dropped again down to $495,636.
Wow. Okay. So a pretty steady decline in what sellers were asking over those 3
A
months.
very clear declining trend, yeah. And that's significant, I think. It suggests sellers in 300-42301 are, maybe for the first time in a while, really starting to proactively meet the market where it is. It could signal a window of opportunity for buyers who felt priced out before.
That definitely ties back to that flexibility you mentioned.
Right.
Okay, so list price is trending down, but the crucial number, of course, is the sale price, where the rubber meets the road. What did homes actually sell for on average in 300-4231 during March, April, and May? How does that compare?
Right. And the average sale prices, well, they paint a slightly different picture, a bit more volatile than the list prices. So in March, the average sale price was $401,760.
Okay, quite a gap from the list price then.
Yeah. Then in April, it jumped up significantly to $462,709.
Whoa, okay, so it went up in April, even as list prices were coming down.
Exactly. But then by May, it dipped back down again to $395,851.
Huh. So list prices steadily down, but sale prices went up in April, then back down in May. What do you make of that?
Well, it suggests that even with asking prices softening overall, there was still strong demand in April, maybe for specific types of properties, perhaps those really well-updated homes or prime locations we talked about. They were still getting strong offers, pushing that average sale price up temporarily.
Right.
It shows it's not just one uniform market, even within the zip code. Specific homes, the really desirable ones, can still command top dollar even while the broader market is adjusting. It's about matching the right property with the right buyer.
That makes perfect sense. It really shows how those numbers reflect that cautiously optimistic feeling, the seller flexibility, but also the pockets of continued high demand. And again, everyone listening, remember these figures. Only for 34231. This isn't Sarasota overall. It's a very specific snapshot. Now, you mentioned 34231 isn't just, one big neighborhood. It's a pretty large area, actually, with a lot of variety. You've got waterfront, you've got more affordable inland spots. Can you maybe walk us through some of the key notable neighborhoods within 34231 that give it that character?
Oh, absolutely. That diversity is really one of the best things about 34231. It caters to so many different tastes and budgets. Let's start with probably one of the best-known Gulfgate estates.
Right, I know Gulfgate.
Yeah, super popular. People love it because you can walk to Gulfgate Village, all those shops and restaurants. Plus, you're incredibly close to Siesta Key and also Turtle Beach.
Yeah.
The homes there are kind of a mix. You'll find some charming mid-century places, some that have been totally updated, always in demand. Then you have Southgate Ridge. That's more of an established community. Think larger lots, mature trees, that kind of feel. Really easy access to the main roads like US 41 and lots of shopping nearby. Good for space and convenience.
Okay.
Now, for the boaters, there's Coral Cove. That's a prime waterfront community. A lot of the homes are right on canals. Many have their own private docks. You get direct access out to Little Sarasota Bay. It's, that real Florida waterfront lifestyle.
The dream for many.
Definitely. Then, also with water access, but maybe a bit different, is Philippi Gardens. It's near Philippi Creek, and you've got both waterfront and non-waterfront homes there. It's often popular for people who want that water access, maybe for kayaking or smaller boats, but at potentially a lower price point than, say, being right on the bay or out on the islands.
Offers good value.
Exactly. Moving a bit inland, you've got Ridgewood Estates. This tends to be a more affordable neighborhood. It's pretty centrally located, convenient to schools, shopping, often a good spot for families or first-time buyers, maybe.
Makes sense.
Then there's a smaller, kind of interesting neighborhood called Bahia Vista Highlands. It's mostly single-family homes, but it has this unique sort of cultural feel because it's close to some of the Amish and Mennonite communities in Sarasota. It feels distinct.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And finally, you've got areas like Sun Haven, Sarasota Heights, and Brookside. These are generally smaller pockets of homes. They often represent really good value, maybe for first-time buyers again, or even investors. Super convenient to US 41 and the shopping centers along there. Practical and accessible.
Wow, okay. It really is a diverse mix, isn't it? From prime waterfront to these convenient, maybe more affordable inland pockets.
Yeah.
It's clear that 34231 is this real tapestry of different communities, and each one adds its own flavor, contributing to the whole zip code's dynamic. You just wouldn't capture that by looking at, county-wide stats.
Not at all. It really highlights why that hyperlocal view is so important.
Absolutely. Well, that really brings our deep dive into Sarasota zip code 34231 to a close.
Ugh.
We've definitely uncovered a unique real estate market here, characterized by that cautiously optimistic seller sentiment, specific trends over the last 3 months in listings and pricing, showing that downward drift in asking prices but some volatility in sales.
Right.
And maybe most importantly, this rich variety of neighborhoods, each offering something different. It really shows there's something for almost everyone within this one specific area.
It really makes you think, and maybe this is the final thought for you, our listener, to consider. When you're looking at real estate, anywhere really, how much are you digging past those big, broad market reports?
Good question.
Because the real story, the actual opportunities, they often hide in that hyper-local data. Understanding the specific feel, the trends, the nuances of one small community versus another, that's often where the smartest moves are made, rather than just going by citywide or countywide averages.
That is absolutely worth thinking about. Excellent point. Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive today, and we want to extend our sincere thanks to Eric Martin. He's a local realtor with Keller Williams here in Sarasota, operating out of the KW Coastal Living 3 office. It was his local MLS listing and sales information that really powered this specific deep dive into 34231.